Long ago, fierce winds toppled mountains, leaving behind scattered giant rocks on the plains. Over time, these rocks eroded into dust and sand, leaving no trace of what once existed. 500 million years after the extinction of the last human, Earth's tectonic shifts formed a new supercontinent. But a single, united world is also a fragile one. This vast land was dominated by deserts. As far as the eye could see, there were no obstacles, no lakes, no rivers or mountains, only endless dust. Even the air itself carried brown particles. There were no new mountain-building events or uplifts. Rain and groundwater slowly seeped into the soil, draining away its last nutrients. When those ran out, there was nothing left to replace them. The land began to resemble Mars more than Earth. The sun still shone in the sky, but compared to 500 million years ago, its light and heat were far more intense. Day and night alike, the land lay beneath oppressive waves of heat. Apart from the wind and the scurrying of a few remaining creatures, there was no other sound. One day, a roaring engine shattered the silence. A massive spacecraft flew deep into the desert and released a small mechanical sphere. At first glance, it seemed alive, like an artificial creation, but not quite. Yet it was conscious. It was part of a vast fleet that now spanned the stars, orbiting the galaxy in a giant arc of colonization. Today, this sphere came here following the traces of its own memories, searching for answers. The memories of these spheres were ancient. Within their species, identity was fluid, divided and shared, encoded and passed down. This sphere could recount thousands of generations, but the endlessly replicating collective had forgotten its origin. They longed to understand where the robot clusters first came from. Was there a natural birth, a chance formation of circuits on some asteroid, or was there a creator who built their ancestors? For millions of years, these spheres searched the galaxy for signs of their makers. It was not easy, for since their emergence, the Milky Way had already rotated twice. To reconstruct old star maps, they built mathematical models to reverse the galaxy's trajectory. At last, they focused on Earth, identified among a few candidate star systems as their possible birthplace. They found a world rich in organic matter with life forms unlike any they had encountered, but the planet itself was dying. Overheating from its star had confined life to the desert's edges and underground. No intelligent species remained. Yet probing the underground layers, the sphere found unnatural markings, cuts, scratches, giant pits. Perhaps intelligence had once flourished here, but if so, it had long vanished from these pitiful crawling creatures. The sphere represented a new order of life, but like a child, it yearned to find its long-lost father. It knew answers would be difficult to find here. With a sound like a sigh, it began a long journey across Earth. As it drifted south, the desert's edge came alive with animal sounds. Here lived Utilum and his kind, descendants of humans, though now reptilian. Small-bodied with sharp claws and thick skin, they easily dug through soil to find underground insects. Their pit home was once a quarry dug deep into bedrock by humans 500 million years ago. Even after all this time, its marks remained, silently commemorating human labor. At the pit's bottom grew sparse trees surrounded by termite mounds. The trees bore evergreen leaves that defied the ages. For generations, the trees and Utilum species shared a symbiotic bond. Roots reached deep to provide food and moisture, while their waste nourished the trees. Seeds spread as they traveled. Utilum's child lived in a cocoon beneath the tree, attached to the roots to absorb its nutrients. One day, as Utilum crawled along the pit, the wind shifted inland from the ocean, bringing rising humidity. Clouds gathered along the ruined mountain range to the west. In all his life, rain had never fallen on his home. Seeing dark clouds approach for the first time, he hurried back to his burrow. Elsewhere in the desert lived the Umite species, resembling small monkeys. Among humanity's far descendants, the primate body structure still persisted. Their bodies were covered in thick fur to lock in precious moisture. Their foreheads appeared swollen, suggesting a re-evolution of human-like brains, but in reality the bulge was spongy bone for cooling. As one Umite climbed a tree, his movements were slow and drowsy compared to his ancestors. The gathering storm broke with torrential rain, a disaster for this arid land. Floods drowned settlements, disrupting countless animals. But after the waters receded, dormant seeds sprouted, bloomed, and bore fruit. Insects emerged, bringing life back to the land. For Udalim and his kin, it was a rare feast. Peace, however, did not last. Udalim noticed his baby's cocoon was wrong. The tree's roots wrapped tighter and reached into the child's mouth. The tree was killing his child. Torn between ancient maternal instinct and his species' symbiosis with trees, he chose love. Ignoring the tree's will, he rescued his baby and fled. Thus began their wandering. Along the way, they faced countless dangers, including deadly traps laid by underground creatures, remnants of once great species who now lay with open mouths in caves, waiting for prey. Udalim saw brutal competitions, birds hunting lizards, lizards eating beetles, beetles caught by cacti. Prolonged droughts had driven large species extinct, but underground, life thrived. The last shriveled salt humans were just a centimeter tall, yet still considered large underground. Former warm-blooded species abandoned energy-consuming metabolisms to become cold-blooded. Their brains and tissues shrank accordingly. One day, Udalim encountered the mechanical sphere. Two beings sharing human origins met in such a dramatic way. Mistaking it for a predator, he panicked and fled westward, climbing the remnants of ancient mountains to reach an inland sea. The waters were salt-choked, nearly lifeless, surrounded by vast white shores. This environment was as deadly as any predator. The ever-hotter sun destroyed photosynthesis. As plants vanished, the ecosystem collapsed. From higher plants to fungi, yeasts, and algae, life disappeared. Perhaps in the end, only heat-tolerant bacteria would remain, struggling under the blazing sun. But as temperatures rose further, water evaporated away. Even the atmosphere's water molecules broke apart and Earth's water leaked into space. No bacteria could survive then, yet life's resilience defied imagination. 470 million years ago, when asteroid Eros struck Earth, debris-carrying bacterial spores was ejected into space. These spores, nearly immortal, encased themselves in protective proteins that hardened into spiral shields against chemical attacks. When conditions improved, they used unique enzymes to repair any DNA damage. In dense molecular clouds rich in organic molecules and ice exposed to supernova radiation, new stars and planetary systems formed. Earth's bacteria fell upon these newborn worlds, seeding them with life. After countless hardships, life might always find a way to survive ultimate catastrophes and begin anew, though none of this would involve humans, just like the robots now scattered among the stars. Exhausted after his trials, Udalim returned with his child to the ancient quarry. Knowing he could not change his baby's fate, he placed it back under the tree's care and retreated to his burrow, waiting for a better time that might never come. Gently stroking the roots, he let the tree's anesthetic and healing chemicals calm his body and mind. Though aware the great chain of life was ending, he felt at peace. Globe showing humanity's evolutionary journey flashback. 65 million years ago in North America, Purgatorius searched for food in dense forests. Ancestor to all primates, it looked more like a small shrew evading dinosaurs and giant insects. When an asteroid struck Yucatan, the dinosaurs vanished. Small animals like Purgatorius survived. 63 million years ago, primate evolution stagnated but produced species like Plesiadapes, resembling squirrels but true primates. 51 million years ago, Notharctus roamed northern forests. Descended from early primates after the asteroid impact, it looked like a lemur but had a larger brain, feeling not just hunger and pain but also joy. 32 million years ago, early monkeys appeared with dense black fur and white markings, flexible limbs, typical of open forest dwellers, ancestral to both monkeys and apes. 5 million years ago, capoid apes moved through forests like orangutans. Their lineage split from monkeys around 20 million years ago. 150,000 years ago in central Kenya, an early human hunted on the savanna. Some tribes had already migrated to Europe and Asia. He had a prominent nose and large sinuses with a skull nearly the size of modern humans, though brain structures differed. 60,000 years ago in North Africa, modern-looking humans prepared to leave their desert-edge settlement for greener plains. 30,000 years ago in Northern Europe, humans hunted mammoths in cooperative groups. With abundant food, they crafted intricate tools and art. 9600 BCE in Anatolia, Turkey, early agriculturalists built reed and wood houses alongside goats and dogs. Centuries later, this land would become the capital of Byzantium and the Ottoman Empire. By the mid-21st century CE, humanity sent robots to Mars, but internal conflicts worsened. Creativity declined despite equal intelligence. Economy and culture decayed, wars erupted globally. In Papua New Guinea, Mount Rabaul erupted unexpectedly. Within years, most humans died in disaster chains. 1,000 years later, traces of humanity faded. The few survivors returned to primitive living, never again building great civilizations. Mars rovers eventually consumed the planet. Asteroid Eros shifted orbit toward Earth. 30 million years later, insect-like species dominated ecosystems. Human descendants split, some returned to trees, others hid underground. Eros struck Earth. 500 million years later, only robots remained as humanity's legacy. The sun grew ever hotter. Human descendants adapted, becoming cold-blooded and dwelling deep underground, never seeing light again. From simplicity to complexity, infinite forms evolved, beautiful, wondrous, and always changing. Evolution never ends. As Baxter once wrote, humanity is merely another species embedded within the chain of life, nothing more.